Today I'm going to teach you step by step how to make this Easter grapevine wreath. Everything that we used today was provided by TMI Gifts. You'll find a full supplies list below in the description of this video. Welcome to Stillwater's Wreath Designs. Come on in. As I mentioned earlier, for today's design we are partnering with TMI Gifts. Thank you, TMI, for the generous gift of all of these lovely supplies. Let me share with you what they've given to us today, friends. We've got a 20-inch round grapevine that we'll be building our wreath on. We've got a black and white plaid metal bunny sign that's about 12 inches in height. How stinking cute is this orange flocked bunny? We've got a couple of stems of cloth carrots, 2 bunches of 22-inch silky wax plants, 4 stems of Salvia picks, and the cutest ribbon ever. Wait till you see this, guys. Look at that. This is going to be adorable. Go ahead and take a screenshot here, guys. You can get all the items we use in today's tutorial at www.tmigifts.com. Here's the best part, guys. You can enter the code NIKI20, that's NIKI20, when you check out for 20% off your entire order. Okay, let's dive in. Let me just take a quick moment here to welcome anyone new to the Stillwater's channel. Stillwater's Wreath Designs is all about step-by-step DIY wreath making tutorials. We've got new tutorials uploading every single week. So if you like that sort of thing, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button and join us. All right, guys, so go ahead and plug in your hot glue gun. And you know the first thing we need to do anytime we're building on a grapevine wreath is clean this guy up. I usually refer to that as giving our grapevine a haircut. And so basically what we're going to do is any of these twigs or pieces that are sticking out of our grapevine, we're just going to trim off with our small snips. Just like that. So just take a couple minutes, give your grapevine a haircut, make sure you flip it over once you're finished and do the same thing to the back, and then we'll start creating. Just a quick pro tip about your grapevines. Once you get them cleaned up, I get a lot of questions about how to decide what is the front facing part of your grapevine wreath and what is the door facing. I basically just take a look at my grapevine, friends, and whichever side is the flattest is what I choose to be the back of the wreath, because I know it's going to rest nicely up against my or my customer's door. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is attach our metal bunny into the wreath, and I think we're going to place this guy right in the middle. So let me tell you a little bit about my vision. I'm going to place our bunny in the middle and have a floral spray in the bottom right hand corner and a floral spray in the upper left hand corner, which will include our carrots, and then a bow in the center of both of those sprays. And so when we anchor this guy down, he's metal, guys, and so using hot glue of any kind isn't going to hold him in. It's going to pick off the back of our bunny. There's actually a really handy hanger on the back of this bunny that we could run some floral wire through if we were going to place him off to the side like that. But because we're going to place him in the middle, I'm actually going to use my jewelry hole punch and punch a small hole in his ear and his foot so that we can then run some wire through there and just anchor him down into our wreath. So I've just grabbed 2 20-gauge floral wire stems and my jewelry hole punch. This is what it looks like, guys. It's just got a teeny tiny punch, and I'm just going to punch a quick hole in his foot and then also in his ear. I'm about a ½ inch in from the edge just to make sure that that stays nice and strong. If you don't have a jewelry hole punch, they're pretty inexpensive. I'll leave a link for you below. And now I'm going to take my floral wire stem, forgive my finger here, friends, I'm nursing an injury. I'm just going to fold that guy in half loosely into a V just to identify that center point. And I'm going to run that right through that hole that we just made in his foot. And then on the back side of that foot, I'm just going to give that floral wire stem a twist or two just to keep it from sliding around. And once you've got that secured, you're just going to take those floral wire stems and run them through your grapevine, not around. Nobody wants to see your floral wire stems. So I'm just going to run those through the grapevine. And then I'm going to flip that guy over to the back. It's okay that it's floppy. And just give those floral wire stems a couple of loose twists just to hold that guy in place. It's a little bit floppy for this part. Just give yourself some grace. And we want this guy centered. So I'm going to do the same thing with my second stem. I folded it into a loose V. I'm going to run that right through the hole that we made on our bunny friend's ear. And then give that a loose twist or two on the back. And then run that guy right through our grapevine. Make sure we've got that guy where we want it. So he's fairly centered and sitting nicely on our wreath. So now we can flip it over one more time. So I'm just twisting those floral wire stems 4 or 5 times at about 80% tension. You want your bunny to be nice and secure, but you don't want it so tight that it's going to damage your grapevine. Once you get those floral wire stems twisted, go ahead and trim off those excess bits of floral wire stem. Then I'm just going to grab my needle nose pliers and curl those floral wire stem ends back into the wreath. That way, if somebody happens to grab it right there, they aren't going to get poked. And then I like to run just a little pea-sized amount of hot glue right over that floral wire stem just to help ensure that there's no sharp ends. We'll give that about a minute to dry, and then we'll turn our wreath over and start designing. Now that we've got our bunny nice and attached to the grapevine, let's go ahead and make our 2 bows. So we'll set this guy off to the side. So I've just grabbed my 3 ribbon types. I'm going to put the black and white check on the lowest level, the orange and white polka dot in the middle, and then our super cute bunnies on the top. And then I've grabbed 2 12-inch pipe cleaners and 2 12-inch zip ties. Because I'm nursing an injury, friends, I'm going to use my bow dabra today, and we're going to make 2 identical bows. So we'll make the first one together, and then we'll speed ahead. Friends, if you are new to wreath making or bow making and still struggle, the bow dabra is a great tool to help you with that. I'll leave a link for this below for you. And the first thing we need to do is just take our pipe cleaner and run that right down the center of our bow dabra, and then tuck those ends underneath so that they're out of the way. You could also use floral wire if you prefer. All right, we're going to start out with the black and white check. You guys, TMI Gifts has a ton of beautiful ribbon, wreath attachments and signs, florals, all the things. Don't forget that website will be listed for you below so that you can check out their website and do some shopping. So when I'm making my bows, guys, I always make my tails a little bit longer than what I think I'll need. You can always trim your ribbon down if you need to, but you can't add any more on. So I like to err on the side of caution. So I'm going to make 10-inch tails. Now that I've identified my 10-inch mark, I'm just using my self-healing mat here in the background so that I can get some quick measurements. I've pinched off that 10-inch spot. I'm going to give that a hard twist because we always want the pretty side of our ribbon to be facing up. So I've twisted it and just ran that right down the center of the bow dabra. And I want 5-inch loops. So I need to come out to the 10-inch mark because once I fold that ribbon in, it's going to become a 5-inch loop. So I've identified that 10-inch mark. I'm just pinching my ribbon. I don't know if you can tell, friends, but this ribbon's got a really pretty glitter to it. It's just stunning. And I'm going to give that a hard twist and lay that down into the bow dabra. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side for our second loop. We're going to have 2 loops and 2 tails of every single ribbon type. So I'm going to come out to that 10-inch mark. I've pinched right where that 10-inch mark is, and I'm going to run that down the center of my bow dabra. To double check your loops to make sure they're the same length, you can just fold them up onto one another here, and you can see that they're marrying at the same spot, so you know your loops are the same size. And again, we want a 10-inch tail. So I'm going to find that 10-inch mark and cut the ribbon off. Next up, we're going to use this orange with black polka dots. Those polka dots are actually velvet. How pretty is that? Go ahead and repeat the same process with the next two ribbon types, stacking them right on top of the first ribbon, and then we'll tie off our bow. And now this bow is finished, so we need to tie it off. I'm going to pull those pipe cleaners out from underneath our bow dabra, carefully pull up on that ribbon stack. I'm going to wrap that pipe cleaner right around our bow stack, come around to the back side, and cinch that guy as tight as I can get it, and spin that around 4 or 5 times to make sure that guy is nice and secure. Then we'll just cut off the excess bits of our pipe cleaner because we don't need those. I'm going to set this bow stack off to the side and create one exactly like this, and then I'll meet you back here. Okay friends, we've got 2 identical bow stacks. We've dovetailed the ends. All right, let's go ahead and get our bows added into our wreath. So we'll add the lower bow here in the bottom right hand corner, and we're going to use the zip tie to secure this guy. So I'm just going to go around. Now, just like the floral wire, guys, we want to run our zip tie through the grapevine and not around, because nobody wants to see that. So I'm going to hold that where I want it and run that grapevine right through there. Just take your time and weave that up through. You basically want it to come in right underneath that pipe cleaner or floral wire, whatever you used. And then you're just going to push it right back through on the other side. And then flip that around, run that zip tie, and then just cinch that guy up. I always leave it a little bit flexible and flip it one more time just to make sure that didn't move on me, and it didn't. Now that I know that we're good, I'm going to zip it down tight, and then I'll take my snips and trim off that excess bit of zip tie. Super cute. Now we're going to do the same thing with our second bow. We'll be adding this to the upper left-hand corner. So let's run our zip tie through and secure our upper bow as well. You guys, this is coming together. So what I like to do at this point, friends, is do just a rough fluff of the bow. And remember, we've got 6 loops in total, 2 of each of the 3 ribbon types. And all I'm going to do, starting on that lower level, is just pull those tails down and to the side, so they kind of are like a fan. And then I'm going to open up those loops and spread those guys out. So I'm going to make an X pattern with those lower 2 loops, as you can see here. And then we'll just open up our bunny loops, just like that. You don't need to get super fancy right now, guys. We're going to add some florals in here and do some more fluffing as we go. But we won't really finish fluffing our bow or working with our tails until we're done adding the florals. This is just our initial or rough fluff. So it should look something like this. Then we're going to do the same thing to our top bow. So I think for now I'm just going to fold those in half and kind of tuck them under while we work with our florals. If you're new to the channel, friends, and you've not yet seen me create a grapevine wreath, you'll discover that what I do to the bottom, I do to the top, but this is certainly your personal preference. I'm going to start out with our silky wax florals. This is actually a bunch of 3. TMI gave us 2 bunches of these beauties, and so I've just pulled them apart and I'm fluffing it out. By fluffing it out, I'm just waking it up, spreading them apart, and then I'm going to trim my stem. So what we're going to do, guys, is tuck our floral right into the grapevine and then add some glue on top of it to keep that guy secure. And so you want, I would say a 2 to 3 inch stem, but the rest of that needs to be trimmed away. I'm going to use my heavy duty cutters for that trimming, just like that. And so we're going to tuck that guy in where we want it. Just get it a nice good weave there. And then take a dollop of glue and run that right, a full squirt or 2 right on top of where you've anchored that floral in. And remember, these are on a wire spine, so you can bend them and shape them how you wish. We'll work with that in just a little bit. Now we're going to do the same thing on the lower level. So I'm going to trim my stem. So we're just fluffing that guy out, however you'd like. And we're going to anchor this guy in. So I'm just lifting up those loops. And we've placed that stem in. We'll add a dollop of glue, a full squirt. How stinking cute is that? Now remember, there's actually 3 bunches of these. We are going to use that. I'll show you what we'll do with that in just a short bit. And so what we do to the bottom, we're going to do to the top. So I'm going to trim down my stems to leave me a couple, 2 or 3 inches to work with. There we go. We're going to fluff these guys out so you can pull them from side to side, up and down. You want them to have lots of dimension. Don't leave them just flat. So really work with those guys. Make them go in the direction that you want them to. And we're just going to tuck that guy in up at the top, right underneath our bows. And we'll add a dollop of glue. A full squeeze is usually what I use. And then we're going to fluff our second stem, wake that guy up. You guys, this is turning out so cute. All right, now that we've got that all fluffed up, let's go ahead and secure that guy in. Just lifting my loops here and running that stem in. So you can see I've got this nice line for both the upper and the lower. How cute. So now we're going to do the same thing with our salvia picks. So I've just trimmed off that sticker. I'm just going to fluff those out. And again, they're on a wire spine, so you can bend them and shape them as you wish. I'll probably bend them more once we get in. I'm going to trim my stem down. And I'm going to lift up the wax plant and run that guy kind of right underneath. And we're going to pull these leaves and stems. We're going to interweave them once that glue dries. So it's just a pretty marry of the 2 greenery stems. This is going to be such a cute Easter, full of spring vibes. I don't know about y'all, but I am ready for spring. And all the things. So I'm just fluffing it up a little bit again. Gonna trim off that stem, so I've got just a couple inches there. I'm gonna lift up my greenery here, kind of part the C's, and run that stem right down in there. And give that a full squirt of glue right on top so that guy can anchor in. And we're gonna do the same thing at the top. So while that upper set of greenery stems is finishing to dry, I'm going to come down here to my lower, and I'm just interweaving the two different types of greenery here so that it's coming over and under and around and all the things, and it looks like one harmonious bit of beauty. And we're going to do the same thing to all 4 greenery corners here. You guys, how stinking cute is this coming along? Definitely gonna have to give those tails a trim, but not until the end. All right, so now we've got our 2 carrot bunches that we're going to add in, and so they're actually on a single stem, so you could add them together if you wanted. I'm gonna actually separate them with my big heavy-duty cutters, leaving them about a 2-inch stem. And I'm going to do that to both of my carrot bunches here. So what I'm going to do here, guys, is just take a carrot, a single carrot, and I'm going to add them right between our bow loops and our ribbon tails. And these are on wire spines. Of course, you can't bend the carrot, but you can bend the stem that it's on if you need to do so. So I actually bent that a little too much. So just like before, guys, run that down into your greenery and then give it a squirt of glue. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with my orange carrot. And add your squirt of glue. And we're going to do the same thing on the upper level. I'm just going to go opposites. I've got my buffalo check to the left of our lower bow and the orange to the right. So at the top, I'm going to go just the opposite. And we'll add the orange here and the buffalo check there. So we're going to leave those carrots alone for a few minutes and let our glue get nice and dry. And while that's drying, guys, we're going to actually trim down our wax stem. So remember, we've got 2 left. So I've just separated them out, and we've got 5 stems on this bush. So I'm going to trim those guys right off. And we're just going to make a little pile off to the side. And we're going to do that to both bushes. So we'll end up having 10 pieces of individual wax plant stems to add into our wreath. So I've separated them out, trim all those guys down, and put them off to the side. So we've got 10 in total. We're going to disperse 5 amongst our lower floral area and 5 amongst the upper. So let's start with the lower. We're going to re-fluff our bow. So I'm just opening those loops up. Remember, we made the X pattern, and then our bunnies are going across the center. And I'm going to run my finger over those tails. I'm pulling them straight to the ceiling and kind of curving it around my finger to give those tails a cute little curl. Just like that. So once you refluffed your bow and gave some curl to your tails, feel free to trim them down if you'd like. It's totally up to you. Now we're going to disperse our 5 single stems throughout our lower level. So if you've got any gaps in the upper or the lower, you can use your single stems to add in. If you want to add a few bits to the bottom, which is something I'm going to do, you can do that as well. So I'm just going to run a bead of glue right along the stem and poke this down in just to help fill that in a little bit. All right, so I've just used 2 pieces down below. Now I'm going to use 2 pieces within my bow. So I'm going to weave this in right between my bunny loops and the other 2. You're going to have to kind of part the seams here a little bit to find an opening. And then just run a bead of glue right there on your stem. I've got about 1 inch or so on this stem. And then we'll do the same on the other side. You know, this guy is so stinking cute. So I've got 1 left. I think I'll just put a little bit of glue on here and add that right to this bottom portion. And then we're going to repeat those same steps on our upper greenery area. So I'm going to just spin this guy upside down. I'll run a little bit of glue on that stem and add that into our grapevine. Okay guys, we've got 2 more pieces. Let me uncurl those tails, which are going to need a serious haircut. Get our loops refluffed. By now our carrots are mostly set. We will add these guys down in. And again, I'm going to put those right underneath the bunny bows, just to bring some of that greenery up and into our bow. Just give a little bit of life. You guys, oh my goodness. I cannot love this enough. You know how if you're a wreath creator and you sell them, there are those wreaths that you sometimes have a hard time selling, you just want to keep for yourself. I believe that's going to be the case for me with this guy. Let's give these tails a trim. Now, even though when it's obvious that you need to trim your tails, I still remind you just to trim gently, because you can always continue to trim and take more off, but you can't put more on if you trim too short. We're going to have to take a couple inches off here. Now we're coming together. So I'm going to use my cardboard insert here and just kind of curl those guys a little bit. Just using a cardboard insert from some deco mesh to give some sass to our ribbon here. And this beauty is finished. Oh my goodness, how stinking cute. I sure hope that you enjoyed creating with me today. Again, thank you to TMI Gifts for supplying all of these beautiful products for us. It's a stunning, stunning wreath. I'll be sure to leave the TMI Gifts website for you below. Don't forget to enter the code NIKI, N-I-K-I 20. When you check out, you'll get 20% off your entire order. And that code is good through all of February 2024. Thanks for spending time with me today, friends. Happy crafting.